Hello everybody. Welcome to my art stream. For those of you who are new, I'm Ryan Gutierrez. This is my comic art stream. I'm a professional comic artist, and sometimes I draw live. Got some work to do tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. I think I'm going to do maybe about an hour stream, maybe a short one, maybe like in 40 minutes to an hour. I could show you some work I recently completed. Oh, you know what? Let me not NDA myself. Hey, what's up, Johnny? Hey, what's up, Andriami? Welcome back. Lovely to see people returning. So this is a page I just completed this morning. I did the inks for it anyway. I'll zoom way in. You can see the brush strokes. This is a train moving through the forest and mountains and emitting a light that's meant to frighten off this phantom cloud. So my intention with this page was to render the physical, like solid matter and the clouds differently. I think that might be cool to do both differently. Meaning this like cloud of dark phantom faces I used a softer pencil brush. It's meant to give it a washy feel, kind of like an ink wash. And then when I did the train underneath and the trees, as you can tell, I did entirely line work. Just to give a sense of the different physical nature of those two things. Hey, what's up? Rad Art and Comics. Your name says it all. I know exactly who I'm talking to. the kind of person I'm speaking to. Welcome, Rad. Can I call you Rad? It's a pretty good nickname. Welcome. I'm just explaining. There's a comic that I have coming out in October, of which this is the second issue that I'm currently drawing, and I'm just talking it over with some people. So this is the inks I just finished on this page. I was thinking about maybe redoing this with line work, but I just really like it. I think I'm going to keep it as it is. I don't know if I'm going to do colors tonight. I think I'm in the mood to do more line work because I got plenty of pages to draw. So this is another page that here, I'll show you without the beginning of colors here. This is another page that I did in kind of a washy style. I finished that yesterday. I have to do more in the background here. I have some doors that I very lovingly rendered for this Victorian train, so I might put those in the back and just kind of copy paste them, or maybe draw them again. I don't know. Probably not. I got a deadline for myself anyway. This is how pages look when they're finished. These are colors. I do everything myself. I do the colors. I do everything. The only thing I don't do for this book is the lettering. I tried. I did the lettering for book one, and then I had to get another guy to redo it because the lettering was okay, but it wasn't professional. It didn't have that sparkle. And this is so anyone new. Looks like I have a lot of new people because my subscriber count has blipped up quite a bit lately, which is really nice. So I feel like I should. So I apologize if anybody already knows me and I'm being repetitive. I don't want you guys to be annoyed. I just need to, every time new people come in, I want to tell them what it is I do, and hopefully encourage more people to support my work. This is a colored page. This is the ghouls coming out of this box in a train. And the comic book, here I'll show you. This is for my comic book series, BLACKMARROW. And this is some of the art for book 1. This is some of the art for book 1. This is what it looks like pre-lettered. And this page I actually did in Procreate. The whole page was done in Procreate. I really like Procreate. And I'm very excited about this recent news that Procreate is actually going to be coming to desktop, because I love using it, but it's hard to stream on an iPad. So this is from book 1. This is BLACKMARROW down here. This is him confronting this monster who's made of a million rats. This was fun. This was fun to do. Yeah, so real quick, I'll show you, anyone who's new here, I'll show you the website. So this is, this is scout.com. This is where the comic is being sold. This is the preview plus. So this is the short story preview comic for BLACKMARROW. It's only like a 9-page short story. And that's going to be shipping out at the end of this month. So I know a lot of you guys who follow me pre-ordered it already. God bless you. I can't wait for you to get it. It's fucking awesome. It's going to be a nice start to the whole journey. So this is only 9 pages, so it's going to be a limited collector's run. It's only doing like, I think, 1,200 copies. But then you see these guys. These are all BLACKMARROW book 1. This is cover 1. This is an oversized issue. So it says an oversized one-shot and a series of ongoing one-shots by writer-artist Ryan Gutierrez. That's me. A werewolf gunslinger rides from town to town in a nightmarish version of the Old West, dispensing justice by the end of a smoking barrel and bloodied fang. BLACKMARROW helps those who need help and kills those who need killing. Man or demon, he'll give you the justice you deserve. So that's essentially the log line for the whole series. Scout Comics is great. I love working with them. They just started a new label called Dark Harbor, and this is what it looks like. That's the logo. It's like their horror label, and this qualifies as horror, even though it's more of a superhero book in some ways. But they're launching this, and BLACKMARROW is the first book under the Dark Harbor label, which is pretty awesome. It's funny you say that. So Rad Art and Comics says that should be a video game. I actually have plans to, if this does well, I want to pitch it to a gaming company. I've done a little bit of concept art and character design for video games in the past for a now defunct company that at the beginning of my career I was doing concept art for them, and then I think something happened where they got absorbed by something else, and essentially the project I was working on was discontinued before I really got to show my work. And I'm still trying to get that work back, but I know a little bit about a little bit about the insides of how those companies work. So I'm hoping that at one point I can reconnect with some of the people I met in the industry and pitch this to somebody who would want to do like an action game, kind of I always imagined it as like a open world, wandering around this like spooky wilderness, killing werewolves and vampires and stuff. So this is cover A. This is the main cover. And then this is cover B, which, I mean, look at that. That looks like... These are all by me, by the way. I did all the variant covers because I'm nuts, and I just wanted to do all the art myself for the, for the first year of this book. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I like this one. This one's, I mean, like, I don't know which one is my personal favorite because I'm very proud of them, and I get very attached to the art that I do. Like, I really want it to... Like, I feel like I would want each of the... I'm getting a bunch of comps, obviously, so... And this is cover C, which you can't tell by this, but it's a wraparound cover. This is just the front half of it. I can't really show you the back cover. They don't really have that option on the website. But I have a feeling when people know this is a wraparound cover, this one might be the one that people go for perhaps the most. I feel like cover A is very iconic because it's just him against this black screen. But I can show you what the wraparound cover looks like in its entirety. Let me just bring it up. Please hold. Yeah, there you go. Actually, before I even bring you guys back, I'm going to open some more stuff so I can show you a little bit of the Preview Plus comic. Right, so this is what the wraparound cover looks like without, anything in the way. This is the front half. This is the back half. Again, this whole cover was drawn in Procreate. I really like that app. It's very easy to just work out. Yeah. And for those of you who are new here, this is a little bit of the finished artwork for the Preview Plus comic. This is for the 9-page short story. I can't show too much because I don't want to, NDA or spoil it or anything. But yeah, this is some monsters terrorizing some poor innocent soul. But you see the hooves of Black Marrow's horse as he comes through the fog. I had to take a few passes at these monsters because they weren't scary enough the first time. And she's telling the story to this local preacher and being like, what she saw. And I don't want to show too much of the action sequence once Black Marrow comes in, but it is a pretty boss fight. But I can show enough of Black Marrow coming in and taking this guy's head off. Look at look at his demented ghoul face as it separates from the rest of his body. What a total noob. Nerd gets owned. I really had fun working on these pages, because it's a short story. So like I didn't have a real. I had a little loose deadline because they wanted it in time so they could pitch it with the rest of the book. And my publisher, my editor was like, if you can get this to us in like 2 weeks, that'd be great. So I wrote it and drew it in like 8 days. Like I was like, all right, 9 pages. Like I just got to make something cool. It's not. The writing I think is. My writing is fairly. I think sophisticated for the most part. I go down the Robert E. Howard route of action pulp, and I'm indulgent. I'm not a playwright, but I think I like to wax lyrical with my writing, and I try to do a little bit of that with this like 9-page short story. Just make you feel like you're reading a dark poem of some kind, in the loose sense, not literal poetry. I don't know how to write in verse, but. Yeah, and it was just like, okay, I got 9 pages. There's got to be some cool, some good writing to make people feel invested that they want to read the rest. And obviously the artwork really needs to sing. And this particular panel was like one of those pages where I had the moment of being like, wow, can't believe I did that because I didn't think I was that good. Yeah, so that's to introduce new covers to the channel because I got a lot of new people apparently over the past like few days. And anyone just showing up, I was showing everybody, this is the page I just finished, the inks for. Some line work for those of you that are pen and ink junkies. Hey, what's up, Gigi? She says, I think cover C and the one with Black Marrow in front of the moon are my 2 faves. Yeah, I understand that. I hear you. Thank you for that. I think cover A is like, that's the one with him in front of the red moon. A friend of mine who works in comics was like, that's the one. That's the iconic Black Marrow image. But I think some people just are sluts for a wraparound cover. They just love a wraparound cover, and I'm one of those sluts. I just love it. I love that feeling when you see it, especially when it's a 60-page comic. It's oversized one-shots that I'm doing, like hopefully 2 or 3 of them a year, kind of like long episodes. And just seeing that comic when you flip it off the binder and then you look at the back and it's just the art goes all the way around and you just like, oh, that feeling of discovery. I would get that from old comics. I did that all the time and that was a good feeling. So yeah, I think this one, the inks are done, and the inks are done for this page. And the colors are done for this page. Anyway, so we got a nice workflow going for this book. So today I'm going to probably start pencils and inks on the next page, page 20, because this is page 19. So here we go. It's going to be a dialogue page. There's going to be a lot of close-ups. Unless I'll check the script to see if there's something I forgot. But yeah, I think it's mostly close-ups. So how's everybody in the chat doing? How are your days? How are your days going? I spent most of my day doing client work. And my fiance is a little sick, so I had to run and pick her up from work a little bit early because I think she's got a bit of a stomach bug, which I also kind of had, but it didn't hit me as hard. So I'm here drawing and hydrating between immensely urgent pooping sessions that started off the day but are gone now. How you doing tonight, Gigi? And Rad, tell me about yourself. Andreame, can I call you Andre? Is it okay? I'd love to know more about you too. You guys should tell me, hit me up with your lives. I'm gonna switch my fan to air conditioner because I'm feeling a little hot. Gross Girl says, doing good. Didn't have a shift today, so I'm trying to fill the time with productive things. Just cleaned a little, took out the trash. Now I'm working on a commission. Great. What's the commission? Someone's doing a comic pitch. Oh, sorry, that part was blocked. A TTRPG. Okay. Send me the cover for Reanimate once you get it up. Allow me to consult my script. I think this is gonna be just like a straight up, dialogue page where it's gonna be like repeated panels, probably. I think because it's a talking head scene, and I really like the idea of it being just kind of like going back and forth between these two faces, so. DG says, I'm focused on comic art because I want the tattooing to support my personal endeavors and bills, for sure. Eventually. That's a really cool goal. Tattoo art, I was offered a couple of things like that, and I got a little nervous about doing anything permanent. But designing tattoos is the kind of thing I wanted to do. I thought that'd be cool. But someone said, like, oh, you should try, like, going to school for tattooing. And I was like, it scares me, like, if I mess up on something permanent. Gigi says, who's talking? It's these two characters. It is BLACKMARROW and Adelaide Fairchild. Here's what she looks like in color. This is how the whole page is going to look. And they're going to have a flirty back and forth that's also a little bit loaded with, people who were once lovers and now kind of a little standoffish because they're on, not on opposite sides, but they're a little bit of an adversarial relationship, but they still like each other, that kind of thing. And he's sort of rigid and a little bit, judgmental, but ultimately, very virtuous. And she's a little bit secretive and mysterious, and sometimes he doesn't feel like he can quite trust her, but he also knows that she's a good person trying to do the right thing. And that's their kind of dynamic where he's, you get the sense that you're going to get the sense in the dialogue that maybe she's burned him a little bit in the past, but it's only because she was doing something that was, she felt the right thing. Anyways, here we go. Also, guys, let me know about the music. I'm doing something kind of soothing and relaxing. If you want something a little more intense, let me know. I suspect you don't, but... If anybody in the chat wants to address me, just use my name. I see there's a whole conversation happening. That's great. I'm going to check in every now and then, but if I see that you guys are mostly talking to each other, I'll just, I'll read through it if anybody has a question for me or anything. So I think it'd be really cool for this scene to, because it's them talking, but then it's also like their familiars. Like he has the Raven Cobb, who's his familiar, who I can't wait for you guys to read book 1 because I think people are going to really like Cobb. He's kind of my favorite character in this one. He's just really fun. He's this like Raven who just like is always talking trash a little bit to BLACKMARROW, but he only speaks in little one-word sentences. And it's the book 1 is largely about the two of them meeting and becoming friends. That's a big part of what book 1 is. And in book 2, when Miss Fairchild, this woman comes into the story, she has her own familiar who's this like beautiful black cat that you saw on her lap in the previous page. So I wanted to do this really symmetrical back and forth where it's him with his familiar and her with her familiar, and the familiars are both commenting a little one-word things, little one-word phrases as BLACKMARROW and Adelaide are kind of giving each other a little bit of guff. See, BLACKMARROW's body language I find very easy, because he's like got that cowboy slouch when he sits down. For her, I'm still figuring out. I think she would be very proper when she sits. She's very much a lady, so she would sit with a very. Wow, I feel how bad my posture is when I finally sit up straight. So I think maybe she'd be a little more rigid with her spine and very like. She would not betray her vulnerability in these moments. But then in this previous page, the way I have her sitting, she looks pretty relaxed. And I think I actually like her sitting like that, so maybe I'll go with that. I think that's more appropriate. She looks like she's having a good time. And that she knows she's going to piss him off a little bit, but whatever, it'll be fine. Yeah, maybe I'll go with that. Maybe she's petting her cat. Sorry, I saw someone address me. Johnny says, I tried to draw a requested drawing on the blackboard at work, and it took me literally like 2 days of getting warmed up to figure it out. I'm so bad at drawing. Well, you're a 3D guy mostly, you know? I guess it helps to be able to draw, but it's not a necessity for your job, is it? Or maybe it is, I don't know. You should tell me. Like this, you know, like Rick Baker and Jim Henson. I don't know, were they good draftsmen? Jim Henson, I would believe. Rick Baker, I don't even know. Ooh, I do not like the way her face looks. I think I made her forehead to her muzzle size too big. Let's try that again. It's funny because drawing people in profile is probably the easiest thing, and it's the thing I find easiest. And for some reason, on this particular shot, I'm like having a little bit of a multiple draft problem here, where it's like I should have gotten this on the first one. You see, let me just bring that face higher. So Rick Baker, yeah, he can draw. Okay. Yeah, you said others will jump into clay. Yeah, I was asking because I know that there's some who I've seen who like think they almost like use clay as like their sketch phase. Like they're so comfortable just sculpting with clay that that'll be their like sketching in a notebook. Is just to take a piece of clay and just like start moving it around. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to consult what she looks like in profile in this previous page. That's what's off. Yeah, see, I'm off model with her. I need to remember what she looks like. I'm glad I'm checking this. She has thicker eyebrows, and her nose is a little bit less dramatic than I was making it. And I think her hair is off too. This was, for some reason, I don't know why this felt so awkward to me. It's embarrassing. Because, like, profile, like, if you look at this page, profile drawings, that's, like, my most comfortable depiction of a person is in profile. Like, it's really easy, and for some reason she just wasn't coming together. Maybe it's because of the way I have her leaning, but it's really inexcusable. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. This is how it happens. There. It's a funny line from Community where he's like, you know what, that's better than good. It's good enough. See, so this is what I was going for, guys. Is this like, this is the setup for their final, this is like finally their meeting, and we've been wanting to see what they're going to say to each other. And it's this immediate polarity, this like him, it's like this very masculine and feminine polarity. I'm very into that stuff in art where you kind of immediately create a sense of like a man and a woman existing in a room together differently. And because I was listening to this writer, she was talking about writing romance and like sensuality, and she said like the polarity of masculine and feminine is like a big part of what makes things like appealing as far as a romantic story. And it doesn't even matter the gender of the characters really past a certain point. It's more about one person taking the masculine energy of the room and like kind of like being that, and the other person taking the feminine energy and kind of bouncing off each other. And when she said that, this writer, I was like, God, that's exactly what I try to do with particularly with their dialogue, because I was very into this idea of her being very much a lady, and him being very much a cowboy. And so you get this Raven that's, and him. And if you look at the Raven, if you look at Cobb, and you look at BLACKMARROW, they're kind of just like spiking off in the back. His hair is prickled up in the back because he's this wolf creature. And then Cobb, the Raven, he's going to have this like, ravens have that kind of, the feathers kind of spurg out in the back. And then, and then you look at this, and she, both Fairchild and her familiar, the cat, they both have this kind of, they're both like smooth. The fur just kind of falls, and they're both sitting very, if you look at how they're sitting, it's like pretty relaxed. She's kind of leaning on the cat, she's petting it, and then BLACKMARROW and the Raven are both like taking hard angles. Like he's very like, he's, he has that cowboy slouch, but he's a little bit weary of her because they've had run-ins. And then the Raven is very, perched. And so hard angles for me communicate kind of a rigid masculine tension, also, I mean, you can also be relaxed and be, manly. It's not like I'm qualifying it, but it's just there's a certain rigidity in the way that someone will sit versus relaxation. And so anyways, that's a part of the counterplay between the two of them. Sorry to talk so much tonight, guys. You got me on a talky day. All right, I'm going to try to ink these in a second, but first I'm going to copy and paste these into panels underneath, and maybe change their expressions and body language slightly when the dialogue kind of goes back and forth, and you get that like that interplay, because you'll see. Almost done with the sketch phase. Going to move on to inking in just a minute. Hey, what's up? Is it senor or senior? With an exclamation point. So is it senor or senior? What's the correct way to say your name? Or is it some third possibility that I haven't considered? Welcome. Your question, have you ever worked for a studio? I have. I have worked for production studios doing concept art. Mostly for a film project that was being produced by a company in Manhattan. I also did, I had a brush one summer, I think it might have been the summer, where I was doing, I was actually doing storyboards for a lot of stuff. That's mostly what I've been hired to do because of my comic background. I did storyboards actually for a Dungeons and Dragons ad for the this Dungeons and Dragons slot machine in Vegas. Yeah, and you can find that ad on you can find that ad on YouTube. It's a Dungeons and Dragons slot machine. And I storyboarded this ad for it, and I'm totally uncredited. They never gave me any credit for it. It's like my name's nowhere on it, but I guess that's common. But yeah, maybe. Actually, I don't like this. I don't think she'd be taking that position. I feel like it might make more sense if her shoulders are kind of rolled forward, both of her shoulders in front of her. Yeah, so I did ads. I did storyboards for them. You know, it was Konami. I believe it was Konami at the time. And that was through a production studio called Cirque Productions. They're in Manhattan. And I did storyboards for them and concept art for a film they were producing, this indie horror movie called Pray for Angels. And I don't think the movie's been made yet, and it's been like a decade. But they did turn it into a graphic novel, which was published and did very well. I actually wanted to do the graphic novel. I wanted that gig, but they had someone else in mind for it because it was published through, I think it might have been Image or one of those guys. It was like Image or Dark Horse, and I was unknown to them, so no one even answered my email when I reached out to them. And I was like, hey, I'm literally a comic book artist, and I've designed the monster in this movie. Like, you should have me do the graphic novel. I'm the guy. And they were like, no, we have this guy for it. And it was some artist who had previously worked on, like, Ninja Turtles or something. And actually, she should not be smiling in this panel. She should be a little serious because the conversation is taking a different tone. Yeah, this is exactly the posture. Okay, good. That's what I wanted. So nice when it actually comes together how you pictured it. You can see the cat maybe jumping off screen a little bit. Tail's too thick. Just like a hint of the cat, you know, to imply that it leapt off of her lap onto the floor. And we're going to go brightness and there you go. And we're on to inks, everybody. Senior says, I see. Can you tell your experience with landing your first job? I'm currently struggling to get my foot in the door, so that would be interesting. And yeah, it is unfortunate, but apparently it's really common. It just happens. How did I get my foot in the door? Well, I had a very unusual path toward doing concept art. I'll tell you, it's going to be hilarious. So progress. Wait, let me save this real quick. BLACKMARROW, Photoshop. Okay, BMR. So my path toward doing that was interesting. So do you know The Dark Knight Rises, the last Batman film from Christopher Nolan? Well, actually I have to start a little further back than that. People on this channel probably know this, most of them, unless you're new here, but I'll say it. Before I did this, I was a boxing coach. And I promise it's relevant to the story. I'm not just punchy. I was a boxing coach, and they were filming The Dark Knight Rises in New York, and I was a coach at Rutgers in New Jersey. And one of my students was like, hey, one of my boxing students, that is, he was like, hey, they're filming the new Batman in New York, an hour away, and they're looking for stunt guys to do this big battle scene which, if you've seen the movie, you know the battle scene I'm talking about. They have that big fight at the end between all the cops and all the criminals in the streets of Gotham. So parts of it were filmed in Philadelphia, and for the architecture and the look of it, and parts of it were filmed in New York City. in Lower Manhattan. And it is a big career turn. And I ended up getting the. I had never done that before, but my student kind of dragged me to do it. And then we went to the audition. I filled out this thing. It said I had all this martial arts background, and it looked really good on paper. So they hired me along with my student. And we actually did stunts for the Batman movie. And then the way that led to a gig was we befriended these really nice guys who were who were also extras with us. And we had a cute dynamic because they were not really like physical guys. They were just like film nerds, and they were laughing because it was clear that I had a boxing background. So every time I got called to the front to be on camera for a stunt scene, to get thrown around by some bad guys or whatever, they were just like, "Oh, there goes Ryan. He's gonna go, win over Christopher Nolan with his fancy choreography." And I started to get really into it. Even though I didn't want to do it initially, I started really enjoying it because I was like, oh, this is badass. I'm going to get to be like on camera next to Christian Bale during a fight scene, for a Batman movie. And I was already a comic book nerd. And I basically was so at that time I was already a freelance comic book artist, which wasn't making much money at the time. I was just kind of struggling to hold shit together and then this gig happened. Well, I wasn't full-time, actually, because I was teaching boxing at the time. I was doing a lot of work, a lot of different jobs. Anyways, that gig happened on the set of Batman. I befriended those guys, really sweet guys, and they worked for Cirque Productions, this film company. And they found out that I was a visual artist, and they saw some of my work when we were between takes. I was showing them, some drawings and stuff. And at the time, I wasn't really all that great. I don't think, compared to now, I don't think I really had... I didn't have such a great portfolio. I had a few comic book pages, but nothing that was on the level of, film production. And certainly not on the level of art that I do now. But I went to talk to their director. They were like, hey, we work at a film studio, and we're looking for concept artists. We're looking for people that'll, be hungry and do the work and everything. And looking back, I think maybe they were also like, oh good, these guys probably won't cost that much. And the student was a close friend of mine who I actually met through the arts program at Rutgers, the student that dragged me to the Batman movie. So he actually worked with me, and we both ended up doing storyboards and concept art for the studio. And I got hired because I knew somebody and they were looking for an artist. And that was that. And I worked on this film for about 8 months, doing, designing the creatures and designing the costumes. And it's this, horror story set in like a Jack the Ripper kind of Paris. I know Jack the Ripper was not in Paris, but they were doing a play on Jack the Ripper. Where it ends up being a monster. It's an interesting story, and hope the movie gets made at some point, even if it doesn't involve me being credited at all. Be nice to see that. So I don't know if that's helpful to you. Yeah, it is a really weird turn of career, and it's one of those things, and it's like, how does it even happen, Hold on, I gotta look up Ravens. I always gotta look up their profile. Ah, that's it, okay. Ravens have a very particular, like, head shape. but I think I made them too small. They're basically like ravens are like much larger. This looks more like a crow, honestly. And he's not a crow, he's a raven. It's different. It's like that's more the size, I think. But I can tell you about my experience, senior, and I don't want to. I shouldn't have said the name of the company because I'm going to say some shit. But I don't think I'd ever want to do that again. Maybe I'll edit this afterwards and erase their name. Yeah, it was you know, it was a lot. It was stressful, and it was a lot of work. And maybe other studios don't run that way, but this one, I felt pretty overworked. It was like a very, very stressful pre-production, and it was my first time doing that, so it was a hard time. I was grateful when my time there was done, and I got offers to do more work for them, and I would come back every now and then, but I would do it as an outside, like a freelancer, and be like, I'm going to work from home some of the time, and I'll come into studio. I'll come into studio every now and then just to show what I'm doing and get approval, but I'm not going to spend my days there anymore because it was like I got other work to do. Really want this raven. Cobb, he always has to look kind of ratty. There's a roughness to raven's feathers that I think is very appealing. It makes them always look like they're collaged or cut like they're paper cutouts. Contacts do work. Yeah, contacts are probably the most important thing. Gross Girl has it right. You should actually listen to her more than me. Gigi, she's like, I live mostly as a freelancer these days, and I do okay as a freelancer, and I make my own comics. But Gigi here, she's actually worked in studio probably more than I have, and I think she teaches as well. Something I found both as a studio artist and a freelancer is that it really, really helps to be likable and nice. So much of this industry, like many industries, comes down to people being like, I just don't like that guy, or I just think he or she is nice. I think they're nice to work with. And I think for my career, as a freelance artist and now a creator, a big part of like my survival was that I I'm really easy to work with. Like I'm pretty nice, you know. Like I just try to be nice to people, and I don't fly off the handle. I don't have like artist fits, you know, where you're like, I stand up for myself, but I don't do that thing where people just, you know, I'm not moody. I'm generally happy to work. And why does his hair look so weird? And I think because of that, because I got a reputation for being like a workhorse, you know, where I'll put in the time, and you know, if the pay is good, I won't be too much of a pain in the ass, you know. Like I think that goes a long way. Long way. And Gross Girl, you know, she's a really sweet person, so it makes sense that she would benefit from that in the same way. You know, people probably, I would imagine people just like working with her, you know, like her work is good, but she's also like she's just a nice person, and that really helps, like I was saying. It's also really funny that I said all that, and then I look down and Gross Girl's saying, I'm a terrible networker. Oh, you see, that's interesting because based on past conversations with you, maybe I misremembered what you said, Gross Girl. I thought you had worked in studio and freelancer. You guys are just in time to watch me add a million unnecessary lines. It's going to be so great. This is important. I'm going to read this aloud. I missed some stuff. Yeah, Gross Girl says, I could do studio. I have the skill, but I struggled with a lot of mental health blocks over the years that were extremely detrimental. Now that I'm getting over them, the industry wanted the industry I wanted has been chaotic. Yeah. just switch up the music. Yeah, I have music playing. Can you not hear it? Okay, good. Senior says, all right, guys, thanks for your advice. I'll go sleep. All right, later, Senior. Thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for talking. I'll be right back, you guys. I'm back. I had to check on my girl. She's been a little sick. I want to make sure she didn't need anything. Sup, Gigi? How's the work coming? Are you on the cover right now for Reanimate? Is that what you're doing, or are you doing the freelance stuff? Working on freelance stuff. Got to get that bread. I know. I spent most of my day getting the bread, as you say. So this is my treat. Also, so about a month ago, my PS5 had like a power surge. So it basically, it exploded, like a bunch of sparks flew out of it. And it's been unusable since then, and I just got it back today. And I haven't played video games in a while as a result. So I've been very effective in getting a lot of work done, but now that it's back today, I'm like, oh yeah, this would be cool to finish up this page and then actually, you know, play around for a few minutes on the PS5 before dinner or after or something. So I could photo reference the cat again, but honestly, I want to see what this stuff looks like when I go from memory, because I feel like it's going to be a part of the charm of the style, is that if I make things look just kind of, you know, how I want them to, as opposed to being purely representational. It's a big part of the appeal of a book like this, is a feeling of style, like you're engaging in someone else's, you know, world. What kind of games I like to play? Well, I have the Elden Ring DLC waiting for me, because I started to play it and then my PS5 exploded. I also have the the Final Fantasy VII remake just sitting there waiting. I haven't played it yet. I played the first like 5 seconds of it. I had that Star Wars Jedi Survivor game, which I loved. I'm really big into the Dark Souls games, just like all the other guys, or most other people, I guess. Bloodborne is maybe my favorite video game of all time. I love the new Spider-Man game. I'm very into like action cinematic games, I guess you could say. Things that are like, you know, fighting monsters and bad guys and stuff. So anything that's like action and but I really like turn-based RPGs. Like I got really into Baldur's Gate 3. I thought that was a genius game. And I wanted to start a new file on it because I didn't get to sleep with everybody. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows, but that game is basically a dating simulator. And I was like, I want to see what happens if I choose Lae'zel over Shadowheart or something, you know? But let's be honest, Karlach, you know? But yeah, no, I also, truthfully, jokes aside, I thought the story of Baldur's Gate 3 was incredible. Like, I was so engaged in the story, and I thought it was just incredible, and I really want to play that through. And it has like infinite replayability because there's so many things you can do in that game. It's insane, like how versatile it is. Johnny, go eat. GG, between you and me, Johnny, earmuffs. You're not allowed to listen to this. While Johnny's covering his ears, GG, do you worry about Johnny? I worry about Johnny. I worry about his I worry about his living habits. He's so stubborn. Oh man, you guys are about to finish. You guys are about to witness me finishing inks on this in one go. It's gonna be cool. I don't usually do that live. Usually I work much slower, but I've had a bit of a I don't want to be dramatic, but it was like kind of an epiphany about how I was inking and how I need to just be really impulsive and just go for it, you know. Because I was getting a little too academic with how I was drawing this book, and I was like, I'm not having fun right now. So, oh, whoops. It's true. everything GG says is true. Johnny, we're worried about you. This is an intervention. In fact, Johnny, your parents are right here. They're all off camera. Come on in, guys. Your cousins are here. All of your ex-girlfriends are here. All of your whole rogues gallery. We're all here because we love you, Johnny. Sit down. You guys ever watch Sopranos? Because I can't think about interventions without thinking about the one from Sopranos, which is like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. where because they're like rough mafiosos, they just end up beating the shit out of him, and calling him a fucking loser, and then hitting him. it's really good. Like I think one of them pulls out a gun or something. It's classic. Realizing what I did wrong here. I understand that. I do that with shows sometimes where I'll start it off and then I just like won't continue. Sopranos is one of the, I've stopped it a couple of times when I was watching it, but it wasn't because the show was bad. It was because the characters would sometimes be such pieces of shit that I was like, okay, I don't know if I can like take this anymore. Like I want to kill these people. They're so evil. And those of you who've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. There's just scenes where they just will do something totally awful and like unnecessary, and sometimes in my opinion the writing takes a hit as a result, where it'll just be like, that's dumb, like how would anyone even get away with that, like that kind of thing. But generally, yes, it is very good. It just kind of pisses me off sometimes. Trying to do a slight change in her eyes between panels 1 and 2, because she's slight change in the mood when she's saying something a little suggestive. It's very subtle changes in his face and hers. Okay, last panel, then I'm going to stop for the night, but I'm so close. Curb Your Enthusiasm is a cringe comedy. It is definitely designed to make you cringe, and not everybody can handle that, I guess. You know, I saw the first episode of Barry, and I actually did not get into it, and I think I'm probably a weirdo. I didn't like the writing. it was one of those shows where like the guy is completely boring and unappealing, but for some reason every person who runs into him just really wants to keep knowing more about him and talking to him. It was so annoying. Like he goes to the acting class, you know, and he just like, everybody's like, oh, who are you? And all the girls are like, oh, come talk to us. Come out dancing with us. You got to come out with us. Like, why? Nobody does that. Like, people are friendly, but like, he's boring and he's awkward. Like, why would this woman be expressing so much interest in him? And it's like, oh, this is like what they do with characters in TV shows. Like, if you're like the dude in the show, like everybody, it's like a self-insert for a writer, so everybody's so interested. Oh, he's so mysterious. It's like, I don't think Bill Hader, if he wasn't a famous comedian, would be this guy that like all these women like can't wait to hear what he's gonna say next. Like you gotta do the work. You gotta make me understand why he would be interesting to other people. Just reading everything you're saying. Yes. I was literally thinking of Kristen Stewart in Twilight, where it's like, why is this person the center of attention? And it felt a little bit like, at the time, it felt like, Bill Hader really, like, this is his fantasy, is that he's a badass, but he has a heart of gold, and everybody's gonna love him eventually. It's just like, but I'm aware that apparently the show is really good. It's just there's been a few shows lately that in the few recent years where people have loved it and I've been like not that into it. Not because I don't think they're good, but because I'm just like, ah. But you're saying that him not having such a defined personality is a part of the plot, and it's perhaps I should give it a chance? Alright, I'm wrapping this up. And I gotta go make dinner. All right. I think I'm done, guys. I'm gonna hopefully do another stream tomorrow. Be easy in the meantime. God bless. And I'm gonna leave you guys with the Black Marrow trailer. I'm gonna try to sign off with that. So have a good night.